What's that, Jenkins? Well, Mrs. Tweed said when I was running away, she said, I've got to report to the chain gang. She said, what? We've got to repair chain guards. Oh, right. Best get back then. I hope I press record. Hello, welcome to Tweed's Garage. In this video, we're doing a bit of body repair work, bit of steel work on chain guards. Yeah, not just one of them, 3 of them. Thought I'd do a sort of bulk batch. So yeah, thought you might be interested in that. What we're doing on the Excelsior, Scott and the Bantam. So they're all over on the bench. So let's go down and have a look. So another job to do on the Scott is sort out this chain guard. But like buses, 3 chain guards turn up at once. And I thought as I was working on the Scott one, might as well sort out the Bantam chain guard and the chain guard that I picked up for the Excelsior. So what he's doing on the Scott? Well, the Scott one, well, this is how they made up. Not the Bsa one, but this one and the Excelsior one. You sort of got this, the chain guard's made of 2 parts. You've got this hockey stick on the back, which gives it that shape. And then you've got a plate welded to the front to give it its sort of enclosure. And as you can see the join there, look, running along there. And also, as you can see, they're a bit prone to vibrating and cracking, fracturing along there. And somebody's had a go at it, obviously with a gas torch, and it's got a bit of a bend to it as well. Need to try and get that out if I can. So that needs doing on it. And then it's bolted to the frame via these 2 top hats. I've cleaned the threads out on these, and these are very nice. They work fine. The only problem is this chain guard isn't off of the frame that I've got, and they don't quite line up. So I could do the bodge and you know, sort of file the hole slightly oval to get it to fit, but you know, that's not quite right. So what I'm going to do is knock the rivets out on one of these and move it to the correct position, and then re-rivet it back on, you know, once I've done the repairs, and then just tidy it up a bit, give it a bit of coat of paint. Yeah, so that's that one. The Bantam one, for people who don't know, it's quite common on Bantams. On my one, I think at some time, or when it seized up, the chain was probably worn to the state of a piece of knicker elastic. Finally gave up the ghost and exited out onto the road, not before taking with it the back of the engine casings, and also ripping its way through the back of the chain guard. So on this one, it's not so desperate. I just need to straighten this out here. So we'll probably stick it on the press and just press that back into shape. Need to straighten this out, and then maybe cut that out and put a little plate, weld a little plate in there to tidy that up. The rest of it's all okay. This bracket, yeah, it's a bit bent. That needs straightening out. I don't think that's sort of where it should be, but I'll straighten the brackets out and then pop it on, see what it looks like. And then this end one as well needs, you know, just popping in the vise and squaring up a bit. So that's that one. And then this is, I know it's off a Norman, but I picked it up at an auto jumbo, and it fits the Excelsior fairly well. These small lightweight British bikes, trying to find chain guards for them, quite difficult. They just sort of seem to go missing. So yeah, it's roughly the right shape, but we'll put it on the bike and see what needs doing. So this is the chain guard roughly in position, and it's a pretty good fit. What I need to do is, you can see here, it's a bit short. It's got this round cutout here where it went around the sprocket, obviously on the Norman. So I need to sort of weld a little plate in there just to close that gap up. But it's long enough to fit, you know, into the engine cases there, and keep the muck where it should be. So that's okay. At the other end, like on the Scott mudguard, I'm going to turn a little steel top hat to go between this locating lug here and the mudguard, and tap it. So I just have to put a bolt through to secure it, and then I'll rivet it to the chain guard. So that'll secure this end. Just got to work out the distance I need for the top hat, just to get this in the middle of where the chain runs, and then on the sales brochures, pictures I can find of these, it has a back plate on the back of the chain guard that sits behind the chain here and covers the rear tyre there, just to sort of stop oil and muck going on the tyre. So I was going to sort of fabricate a plate to go on the back of this chain guard and weld it on, sort of triangulated plate comes down here and there, and then back up to the back of the mud guard. Probably a little lug coming up to go on this hole, and then probably have another bolt and a hole sort of down here, you know, just out of the way of the chain, just to secure the backsplash of the chain guard there, so it doesn't get caught up in the chain. So yeah, as well as those jobs to do on it, and yeah, cut this bracket off. Also, there's been a welded repair on here, a plate put in. It's also cracked like the Scott along the join line there, so that needs sorting out. As you can see, there's the repair there. Look, had a bit of sheet steel brazed on the front of it there. So I think what we'll do is we'll just cut out and put a new piece of plate in there on the bead roller, see if we can put a little form on it to match that, and weld it in. And like I said, yeah, big sort of, I don't know what you call it, petticoat plate behind it, cover the back of the chain guard to protect the wheel. Yeah, so there you go. So might as well get the welder out and the bodywork tools and do 3 all together. First thing to do on the Excelsior is place a piece of sheet steel at the end here and then scribe in the shape I need to cut out to weld in, and then cut that out, tack that on, and then weld that up. So the next section is a bit more complicated. It's got a curve on it. So what I've done was, with a Sharpie, marked in the area that I was going to cut out, and then laid masking tape over that and around the curve, and with that all stuck down nice and tight, all the wrinkles pushed out, it was a case of drawing on or tracing the repair shape onto the tape, and also drawing in the line of the curve in the chain guard to follow on in the repair panel. So with that marked on the tape, it was a case of peel the tape off, carefully cut round the outline, and then stick that tape onto a new piece of steel to make my repair panel. So once the tape was on the steel plate, it was just a case of drawing around it with a Sharpie. Moving the tape and cutting it with an angle grinder, ready to fit into the chain guard. What I need to do then was run it through the bead roller just to curve the outer edge to match the curve on the chain guard where it was going to be welded in. Ran it through the bead roller a couple of times, just checking the curve was how I wanted it. Cut out the rotten piece on the chain guard and then dropped in the repair panel and fettled it around the edges so it fitted nicely in there. I trimmed the patch down to fit the hole in the chain guard and then tacked and welded that in to complete the repair. With it welded in, it's a case of grinding it flat, sanding it flat, bit of filler and skimming it, ready for a mushroom to be mounted on the outside. So next I need to turn up a mushroom, so it's over to the lathe, piece of steel bar in there, turned it down to shape, and I worked out the width it needed to be. That was done by threading the chain onto the bike and then pulling it taut, and then split a couple of pieces of hose pipe, laid them over the top, and then the chain guard would sit on the top of that. So the chain would roughly be central with the centre of the chain guard, and with that then I could sort of measure and work out the depth of the top hat. So turn the top hat down to size and then parted it off to length. Moved it over to the milling machine, popped it in the vise, centre the milling machine to the centre hole, and then I knew my centre of the rivet hole diameter, so with that information and knowing I needed 3 holes, I programmed it into the digital readout for holes in a circle pattern. So with the program set, it's just a case of starting the program off at hole position 1, move the mill over, drill the first hole, move it on to hole 2, same again, move the mill, drill the hole. Then move it on to hole 3. And the same again, move the mill, drill the hole, job done. Just pop it out the vise, and then deburred the holes, put a little chamfer on the outside of the holes for the rivets to squash into, and then over to the bench to rivet the mushroom on. So I'll put 2 pieces of split hose over the chain so that when I put the chain guard over the top, it sort of puts it roughly in the middle of where it should be. And now I've bolted the top hat fixing into its location, and I'm going to place the chain guard in here and then work out where it's going to go, and then spot through and mark my hole locations for the rivets. So around there somewhere. So I just need to mark that through, and I can rivet that top hat onto the chain guard. There we go. Just need to drill the rivet holes and rivet that on. And put some skin grips in those two, and then drill the last hole. So 1/8 skin grips, securing this to the chain guard, and we'll drill the last hole. There we go. Okay, next thing to do is mount the top hat on the chain guard. So I've done the filling and that I need to do. Get that out of the way first so it's easy to rub down without this in its place. And I'm going to mount that on there, that on that. I'm going to use a bit of Duralac, all this, what was it, barium chromate and all lovely stuff like that. They used to call it yak shit in the Royal Aircraft Establishment paint shop. It goes between everything, mainly dissimilar metals, but you can use it on similar metals as well. Just put a bit on there so it acts as a anti-corrosive barrier, and also as a bit of a sort of bonding agent as well. It does go off a bit like glue. So put a smidge of that on all the way around. There we go. Line that up. Just pop a rivet in there just to line it up. One of the holes. There we go. Out there. Okay. And what I need to do is put a couple of skin grips in and then start popping the rivets in. There's one. Sure that out of the way, so I've got loads of access to the rivet on the back. Tighten them up. Yeah, pulls it down quite nicely, eases all that stuff out. Let's wipe some of that off. Okay, let's get riveting. I'll pop that in. Pop these in. Sort of flat head on the inside, like so. Following the practice of the Scott mudguard. And then we'll nip a bit off and then pin that down over, then move on to the next one. So what I should do first is set the rivet down, knocking it down as far down as it will go before you peen over the other end. And you normally use a sort of snap and set like this. This is for a 1/8 of an inch rivet, which is what this is. But unfortunately this snap won't fit around that top hat that I've made. It sort of interferes. So I've just rested it over the vice jaws Just close the vice jaws up to the rivet and then rested it on there, and then I'll just tap it down from this side to set it down. There we go, let's set that down. There you go, that's the mushroom riveted on, all nice and solid. We did have a little practice with the old repair section, yeah, which I can't get off to show you, but yeah, you can see how rubbish that was. That definitely needed to come out. So, but that's not going anywhere, so that's not going anywhere either. So moving on to the Bantam mudguard, it was just a case of straightening out the outside edge. Like I said before, just press that out, straighten these brackets out. On the vise, they didn't take a lot of bending, it's fairly bendy stuff. Straightened out the back side of it as much as I could, and then needed to work out my repair, how much I was going to cut out and what sort of shape the repair section. So to do that, I used the old technical drawing O-level, the old flexi curve. Use that to form. It's a bit cold in here at the moment, so it won't really form round, but use that to form my curve, and then trace that onto the repair panel and mark the start and finish position of where I was going to cut. Then cut out the old rusty metal and then laid the repair panel underneath with the curve lining up, and then just traced out the shape of the panel needed to be, and then cut that out, fettled and ground it so it fitted nicely, and again tacked it in, welded it in, ground it flat, a little bit of filler, ready to go. So yeah, so that's the Bantam one done. So moving on to the Scott chain guard, I decided to remove the front mushroom because that was in an area that I was going to cut out to repair. So remove the mushroom, that was just a case of centre punching it. And drilling out the rivets. Knocking the rivets out and yeah, removing the mushroom, and then just a case of popping it on the drill and running a countersink down just to countersink the holes a little bit to aid riveting when it goes back on again. And it'll be riveted on with 1/8 inch rivets, flathead rivets. I happened to find a load in a box, came with an engineer's toolbox that I purchased a little while ago. So yeah, it's quite handy, always nice to find a use for something that hasn't been used for a while. So yeah, enough 1/8 inch rivets in there to do that, and I also use them on the Excelsior. So I took a sheet of repair steel and on the bead roller started to form a quarter curve at the top edge. Well, it wasn't the top edge, sort of in the middle, a certain way into the panel, because you know, you need a bit of length to be able to form it over, and then I chopped it off after I'd formed the curve. So as the Excelsior, you know, formed the curve, just kept checking it against the curve on the chain guard, and then once I got to a situation I was happy with, we moved on to marking out and cutting out the bad section on the chain guard. So with the mushroom off, it was a case of marking roughly where I was going to cut out to do the repairs. So there's a front section needed cutting out, So yeah, and then on the back as well, a little rusty section on the back edge. So that old section cut out with its along with its repair, I then stuck the chain guard on a round former and tried to beat some of the curve out of it, try and straighten it up a little bit. I couldn't get it all out, it just seemed to have a natural curve in it anyway, but I got it a lot straighter than it was before we started welding in new steel and distorting it even further. So with that hammer and dollied up to satisfaction, I then chopped out the little section on the back edge, cut out and then made up a little repair section, and I had to put a little curve on the outside edge of it to match in with the chain guard because it was just starting to curve over. So I formed a little curve on the outside edge, again on the bead roller, and then checked it against the guard, scribed it off, cut it to shape, fettled it, popped it in, clamped it with a piece of aluminium behind because it was a small piece of steel I was welding in. There's a big block of aluminium behind just to act like a heat sink, and then tack welded it in and then seam welded it all the way in to finish it off, and then ground it off, ready for finishing off. So with the back side done, it was moving on to the front, and again keep checking the repair panel for fit, then tidy up the where I'd cut out the old piece of metal, laid in the repair panel, scribed it in again, cut it to shape, and filed and ground it to fit, and then like the other sections, spot welded it in, kept tapping it into place to try and keep it as level as possible, and then welded it all the way around to finish it off. And then again ground smooth, as smooth as possible, and occasionally hammer and dolly, knocking out some little high and low spots, and then that's ready for paint and the mushroom to be mounted back on with new holes drilled. And we also just welded up, there was a little hole, I think it was just a hole somebody put in just to hang the chain guard up in a shed somewhere, so you just welded that up. And then the last job to do on the Scott chain guard is to mount the top hat back on it in the correct position. So what I'm going to do is use the old repair that I cut out to mark where roughly it was before, so I sort of get it in the right angle when I pop it on the bike, and mark the position of the rivet holes, ready to be popped back on. So I'll just nip next door, sort that out, drill it, rivet it, and we'll be done. So I've had to have a little think. I can get this sort of, sort this position out. I mean, it's way forward of where it was before. You can see it didn't really fit properly. But the other problem is it doesn't, see if I can get it down there, it doesn't line up with a sprocket. Sprocket there, see? Over to this side. It still has that curve on, but the curve sort of goes quite nicely around this frame tube here, so that's not much of an issue. But yeah, it's not, you can see there, it's sort of definitely out of line. I was contemplating turning up a new top hat to move it over, I need to move this end over a little bit as well. It's not quite in line, could do with going over a bit. So I think what I'll do, the easiest solution would be to turn up some spacer washers, some nice sort of wide spacer washers to go on this side of the frame lugs, and that gives me infinite variability to get that nose end over and get this back end in line as well. So I'll work out a position of this and rivet it on, but then need to turn up some spacer washers when we mount it finally on the bike. And there you go, that gives us our position for that. And just place that on there. Mark my rivet holes, and as before on the Excelsior, drill a hole, skin grips, do the rest. Rivet it on, job done. But you don't need to see that because I've done it already. So there you go, chain guards. So there you go, bumper edition, 3 chain guards done, like a little production line. Hope you found it riveting. See what I've done there. Yeah, if you did, give us a little like and subscribe, you know, because you see other videos coming along. You know, stick a comment down below. We like a little chat, you know. Well, most of you get the occasional one. Yes, Jenkins, like you. Yeah. Anyway, so see you next time. All right, shit, what's that, Jenkins? Can you take the manacles off? No, clean the lathe off first, then maybe we'll think about releasing you. All right, bye. Hello, welcome to TWEED'S Garage, where in this video we're doing a bit of steel work, bit of body work. My glasses are filthy. Hello, welcome to TWEED'S Garage, where in this video we're doing a bit of body repair work. Balls are dropped, and itchy eyebrow. So there you go. Sort of. No, not yet. Not till you swept the.